September 14th, 2011. UBS's London office, Delta One trading desk, 7th floor. A trader named Kweku Adoboli sends an email to his supervisors. It confesses to years of unauthorized trades. Within hours, compliance officers are combing through his accounts. By nightfall, they find a hole worth billions. Adoboli had joined UBS in 2003, straight out of Nottingham University, starting as an intern. By 2006, he was a trader on the Delta One desk, a unit built to move exchange-traded funds with minimal risk. The job came with strict limits: how much exposure he could carry, how much the bank would tolerate losing on any single position. For years, colleagues described him as reliable, even talented. Then, sometime around 2008, he began breaking those limits. He did it quietly, using a technique familiar to rogue traders before him. Adoboli booked real trades on the desk, then hid their true risk using fictitious internal hedges, offsetting positions that existed only on paper. To the bank's systems, his book looked balanced. In reality, he was carrying exposure far beyond what UBS believed. For a while, the market moved in his favor, and the gap stayed hidden inside the numbers. Then came August 2011. Markets convulsed over the U.S. credit downgrade and the deepening Eurozone debt crisis. Stocks swung wildly, day after day. Because Adoboli's real positions were unhedged, every swing hit his book directly. Losses that had been theoretical became real, and they grew fast. By early September, the gap between his fictitious hedges and his actual exposure had become too large to manage quietly. On September 14th, he ran out of room. He wrote the confession email himself, addressed to 2 senior managers, laying out what he had done. UBS later said the email arrived just after 3:30 p.m. London time. Security escorted him from the building that evening. The following day, City of London police arrested him on suspicion of fraud. What UBS found in the days after stunned even veteran bankers. The unauthorized trading had cost the bank an estimated $2.3 billion, one of the largest losses ever tied to a single rogue trader. Within a week, UBS chief executive Oswald Grubel resigned, taking responsibility for what regulators called a catastrophic failure of internal controls. The bank's risk systems, built to catch exactly this kind of activity, had missed it for years. Adoboli was charged with fraud by abuse of position and false accounting. His trial opened in London in September 2012. Prosecutors argued he had deliberately deceived the bank to inflate his trading performance and his bonus. His defense argued the culture on the desk encouraged risk-taking that management quietly tolerated as long as the trades made money. The jury convicted him on 2 counts of fraud. In November 2012, he was sentenced to 7 years in prison. He served just under half that sentence before his release in 2015. But prison was not the end of the consequences. Adoboli had grown up largely in the United Kingdom, but he had never held British citizenship, only indefinite leave to remain, tied to his father's earlier work as a UN official. His conviction triggered a deportation order. He spent years fighting it through the courts, appealing again and again, while working and speaking publicly about banking culture and risk. In 2018, the appeals ran out. He was deported to Ghana, a country he had left as a child. The $2.3 billion loss remains one of the largest unauthorized trading losses ever recorded at a single bank. UBS overhauled its risk systems in the aftermath, and regulators across Europe used the case to tighten rules on internal controls at major banks. Adoboli, for his part, has said the money never touched his own pocket, not a bonus.